Namaste, Namaste JVWU. I JV'N Gaurav from the Faculty of Radiographic and Diagnostics in the Department of Diagnostic and Community Health in the discipline Radiology from JV'N University. Today we are discussing a session that is important or useful session for application of radiation imaging technique or radiographic technique and general radiation physics. So today's session will be helpful for the student to know or understand the general radiation physics or production of X-rays or any type of particles or rays or the positioning of patient. Okay. Namaste. In today's session, we will discuss about the Townes view of skull. Townes view is an angled radiograph of the skull and visualize the petrous part of the pyramid and dorsum sella and the posterior clinoid process. Dorsum sella, dorsida, okay, or petrous part of the pyramid, okay, which are visible in the shadow of the foramen magnum. Okay, so the next, the indication is this projection is used to evaluate for medical and lateral displacement of the skull fracture in addition to new plastic changes, new plastic changes and Paget's disease. Okay, the technical factors. Central point. The central beam travel 30 degree coordinate to the orbitometal line, OM line, orbitometal line. Collimator superior to include skin margin, inferior to include base of skull. Lateral to skin margin. Orientation should be portrait, detect size 10 by 12 inches, exposure factor 60 to 70 kVp or ms is in the range of 10 by 10 to 20 ms. SID 100 cm, grid, no grid is not used in this view. Image technical evaluate or radiographic appearance, dorsum sella overlies the foramen magnum. Petrous rays are symmetrical. Practical point, if the dorsum sella projects above the foramen magnum, it requires an increase in the angle. If the anterior arch of C1 what is cervical 1 vertebrae is lying in the foramen magnum, less angle is required. Okay, advantages: occipital bone and posterior fossa space better evaluate than with a non-angulated epiview, which would have more skull base and a facial bone overlap. Better than a conventional epiview for evaluating an occipital that is fairly involving laminoid sutures. Maybe a useful additional view for evaluating skull fracture. So it is the view that is used to see the fracture of skull fracture, petrous leaf, skull fracture, and the dorsum sella that is present in the foramen magnum. So this view is very useful to see the petrous leaf, to see the foramen dorsum sella, okay, or skull fracture. Session is over. Thank you. evening. In today's session, we will discuss about the PNS waters view of X-ray in the radiographic techniques of full body for BScRT second semester. So let me discuss about the paranasal sinus waters view of X-ray, PNS waters view of X-ray. The occipital OM or waters view is an angled PA radiograph or angled radiograph of the skull with the patient gazing slightly upward. Upward means the chin should touch or nose. There is a gap between the nose tip and the temple. Okay. Indications. It can be used to assess for facial fractures as well as acute sinusitis, but inflammation in the sinuses. In general, radiographs of the skull and the facial bones are rapidly become obsolete, being replaced by much more sensitive CT scans. Okay. Next, the patient position. The patient is erect, facing the upright detector. The chin is raised until the mandibular line (MML) line is perpendicular to the receptor. Ensure patient head is straight. So this is the patient position. The next point is the technical factor or exposure factor. It is a PA view. So the central point, the beam is existing the acanthus or collimation superior to skin margin or inferior to include the most inferior aspect of the skull, lateral to include the skin margin. Orientation should be portrait. Detector size 10 by 12 inches. Okay. Exposure factors for this view is in the range of 6 to 70 kVp and MS is in the range of 16 to 20 to 30 ms. SID 100 centimeter. Grid, yes, it is or it depends on the departmentally, or it is applied for exposure large exposure factor. So yes, grid is used. Image technical evolution or radiographic appearance, the petrous ridge should be inferior to the maxillary sinuses. Maxillary sinuses should be inferior to the maxillary sinuses. Assess for rotation via the assessment of the coronoid process symmetrically. Coronoid process anteriorly present in the mandible. So coronoid process symmetrically from left or right. Generally, the base of the mandible and occipital will be superimposed. Practical point: the learned theoretical positioning lines, it makes for reading position guide lot easier. Means OML line, MML line, mental line, OML orbidometer line. Okay, mediometer line. Okay, so these are the lines that is useful to position a patient in these views. Use side marker and regularly place in PA. Skulls can get a tricky with figuring out which side is which. मीन्स कौन सी साइड है उसको अपन देखने के लिए क्या साइड मार्कर यूज करते हैं, और मैनी वेंडर्स देन टू फ्लिप इमेज टू मेक देम अपीयर एपी. ओके, तो फ्लिप कर देते हैं इमेज को एपी देखने के लिए. ओके, सो तो अपने को मार्कर रेगुलरली प्लेस करना इंपॉर्टेंट होता है कि मार्कर वहां प्लेस करें टू फाइंड दैट एपी व्यू है या पीए व्यू है वो देखना. ओके, सो this PNS waters view is complete. It is used for the to see the sinuses and if fracture, petrous ridge. These are the important indications of the PNS waters. Sinusitis, facial fracture. These are the important indications. Okay, thank you. The session is over. Namaste. In today's session, we will discuss about mandible X-ray view and techniques. It is a very important session for uh, radiographic techniques of whole body subject in BScRT second time. Let me discuss about the mandible X-ray. Anatomy. The mandible is composed of a central curved part called body and two ascending rami. Symphysis menti is in the center of the body. The rami end in two bony processes, the coronoid anterior and the condyloid posterior. Coronoid anterior and condyloid posterior. Both the processes are separated by mandibular nodes. Both the processes are separated by the mandibular notch. The condyloid process. Condyloid process consists of head and neck. The head forms part of PM joint. The upper margin or border of the body is called the alveolar process, which contains socket for the roots of lower teeth. So, uh, So symphysis menti is the center of the body, the rami and in two bony processes, the coronoid anteriorly, coronoid and condyloid posterior. Both the processes are separated by mandibular nodes. The condyloid process consists of head and neck, and the head forms part of TM joint. The upper margin or border of the upper margin or border of the body is called the alveolar process, which contains socket for the root of lower teeth. Root of lower teeth. So the exposure factors, technical exposure factor for mandible X-ray view, the central ray should pass to 5 centimeters below the angle of 30 degrees towards the head, means cephalic angle in the beam. Okay, the beam is angled towards head. Okay, central ray 5 centimeters below, 5 centimeters below the head. Okay, orientation should be portrait, detector size 8 by 10 inches. Exposure factor is in the range of 60 to 70 kVp and MAS is in the range of 12 to 16 to 30 MAS. Okay. The SID, source to image receptor distance, should be 100 centimeters. Grid, yes, grid is used because of high exposure factor. Position lateral oblique or radiographic. Position lateral oblique. Patient is prone on table. The head is rotated to either right, either left. Patient is positioned on the table. Head is rotated either head is rotated either the right, either left or left side, so that the median line is parallel with the table. Median line is parallel with the table. Median line is parallel with the table. Interorbital line is perpendicular. Interorbital line is perpendicular to the film. Raised shoulder of the side towards which the head has been rotated, means head has been rotated. Okay, front position, head has been rotated. Interorbital line, let's say perpendicular for the interorbital line, or parallel to the table. Okay, raised shoulder raise कर देंगे, raised shoulder of the side towards which the head has been rotated. Okay, and support with sandbag. Okay, so this is the position. Next point is a radiographic appearance. The body of the mandible, ascending ramus and condyloid process of the side. nearest the film are clearly seen. The mandible of the opposite side is thrown above the affected side, except towards the point of chin, where it becomes superimposed on the affected side. So it is the body of the mandible, ascending ramus, condyloid process of the side nearest the film are clearly seen. This is the radiographic appearance. Okay. So this session is over. Thank you. Thank you. The session is over. I think you are satisfied with this session. If you have any query, then put it into the comment box. I will resolve it later. Thank you. This session is over. The session is powered by digital version 2.0, JV'N University.